Hey guys, Friday Fraud Law Review. Hope you're all having a great week, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Okay, so let's get to it. This is early April, April 3rd. It was reported by the Office of Inspector General of the SSA, as they always are when I'm reporting on them. I shouldn't say always. I'd say by and large for Friday Fraud Law Review, yes. This is in Louisiana, and this particular woman, I've had a lot of women lately. They're up to no good these days, right? I'm being funny. Um, she was convicted and sentenced, so I feel comfortable saying her name. Her name is Aileen James, it looks like. She is 51 years old and she's of New Orleans. So in this case, Aileen's mother passed away. She goes by the nickname of JJ. She passed away in 2012. Aileen decided to not make Social Security Administration aware. And I'm not sure if we have an overt duty to make aware the SSA about anything about, adults, whether they're related to us or not. So that itself probably is not a problem. Um, but what she did was she then she would spend the funds that the SSA continued to pay into mom's designated bank account, the deceased mom, and spent it on herself. And she also forged her mom's signature on checks to herself. And going further, by the time COVID came around, she decided to take her mom's $1,200 of stimulus. Wasn't very stimulating, but stimulus, and spend that on herself too. Um, it goes to a point, guys, that the SSA is not automatically aware when someone passes away who's a beneficiary. And I was reading up the other day, and if I do find it again, I will tag it on here. Where do they get their information from generally? Like many of us had been aware that a lot of times a funeral parlor contacts the SSA. There must be some sort of arrangement. But anyway, the SSA printout that I was looking at, and it's just a little add-on to this little fraud law review. They have arrangements with vital statistics offices throughout the country. Not all states, but I think it was most. And so when they get reported that someone has passed and it's legit, they pay a little fee to the provider of the information. It was a few bucks. It wasn't a lot, but you figure, a million people die, you might have $3 million that year to, the state who runs the vital statistic office for that state would have. So anyway, I thought that was interesting because it did seem like back in the day, it was funeral parlors, maybe coroner's offices. And of course, not everybody uses that when they pass away. So how are you going to necessarily ensure that every deceased person gets taken off the ranks of being a beneficiary? Anyway, apparently JJ was not, nobody notified them of that. So her daughter was able to abscond with all these monies. The biggest thing I thought about this case was that the judge, it seems like a very late sentence to me, but on the same token, do we put someone in jail and take up jail space that would maybe otherwise house more violent people? I don't know the answer, but 4 years of probation. By the way, the amount of money she took was over $85,000. She's getting 4 years of probation and has to pay a $100 mandatory special assessment fee. Gotta love those funny fees that have no meaning, right? She has been ordered to pay restitution of over $88,000. I wonder if that's like interest on the 87. It's only like $300 extra, or something else that changed the amount. Because certainly that $300 does not pay the salary of the judge who had to take time to hold the proceeding where she's found guilty and do the sentencing, nor probably a public defender, assuming there was one. So I'm not sure why the difference in the monies. They don't go into much detail on these things. But she is ordered to pay restitution. Restitution, if you're not aware, is basically making whole financially what you took. It often occurs with thefts and stuff like that. It is not a punishment because you're not getting something over and on top of just returning what you took. So really the punishment is only the 4 years probation, I would say. So there's no jail time. There's nothing to suggest there's anything major. Is she going to be showing up for a probation officer weekly? I don't think so. I mean, I would think that would be misplaced use of resources. But again, what is she? I guess it's like, what does she deserve for having done this for over a decade versus what would be too much in that it would cost society even more to give her more, considering she doesn't appear, at least based on this particular issue, violent or anything like that. And we really do need to get violent criminals off the street. I mean, the no cash bail is really a problem. So I don't know. What do you think? 4 years probation? Maybe I'm thinking, hey, if you're not going to get jail time for something like this, which is most assuredly a felony, is 4 years probation enough? Should there be community service? Should it be 10 years probation? Do they even have 10 years probation? I know, I mean, when there's probation, there's going to be costs extended with that because there's got to be some sort of probation officer overseeing it to some degree, even if it's just a phone call, right? I don't know. It's not my area, but I just thought it was interesting that you can steal $85,000, commit a felony, and get 4 years probation. And do it, by the way, it's not like a one-hit wonder where you had a bad sense of judgment, moment of panic. 10 years consistently, along with writing bad checks, not just dipping into mom's account, right? It wasn't like she's just dipping into mom's account, which is bad, but slippery slope can get away from people. Writing the checks, forging the signature, and then taking the COVID relief. I mean, you can't really say that's an accident, right? They do have a section here, I'm just going to mention it, that if you have any information with about allegations of attempted fraud involving COVID-19 and those kind of stimuluses and aid funds and all these things that we know were completely defrauded, not handled very well, obviously. You can call the Department of Justice's National Center for Disaster Fraud. Can you tell I deal with a lot of diseases in my work? That's the NCDF. It's a hotline. The number is 866-720-5721, 866-720-5721. There's also a direct link on this site. I'm either going to have it a button here, or it's going to be down below in the comments. You know, if you know somebody who has clearly committed fraud, maybe we shouldn't be so shy, you know. It's tearing us apart. So anyway, that's what we have, guys. Curious about whether you think that was a sufficient sentence, and even though it might not be, would it be the kind that we have to just live with because otherwise we're taking up jail space? Just curious. I wouldn't have a problem with jail time, except I don't want to be letting a violent one out instead. Okay, that's my take off the cuff. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend. Bye.